From across the comic book community multiverse, the Comic-Con podcast begins now with your hosts, Justin, aka Nemesis Prime.
If you give them the title of influencer, then that's giving them more power, right? That's how it is. Like, I'm a nobody. Listen, I'm a nobody.
Zack, aka the Manimal.
We talked about it for a full, I believe, 7 to 8 minutes on an hour-long normal podcast for a show. And you would have thought we set their house on fire with the backlash. So, what's up, everybody? Welcome back, Comic-Con Podcast, how we always do. Recording tonight, April 27th, 2023. Your hosts, always, myself, Zach, a.k.a. Milton the Manimal, and Justin, a.k.a. Nemesis Prime. What's up, dude?
Wow. What's going on, buddy? How are you? It's been a long week. A lot of trailers have been dropping. CinemaCon is in full effect. A lot of movies, a lot of stuff. Can't wait to talk about it tonight.
You know, it's been, I don't know, these past couple of weeks, I feel like have been weird. Like they've been really busy, both like work and comic book news type stuff like going on. But I also, and then I try to like look back at it and I'm like, did anything really of substance happen? Like, I just don't feel like anything's really hit me yet. But man, I'm loving the weather's turned here in El Paso recently, where it's been like nice 70s, sunny. We're getting into 80s a little bit. So the pool's getting prepped, ready to go. You know what I mean? What's it like out in Jersey right now? How's the weather?
It was really warm about 2 weeks ago, and then it got cold. And now here in New Jersey, we're dealing with a lot of pollen. So I got a like sinus infection / allergies thing this week, which is like killing me because I literally started the week going to the gym, and then I haven't been able to go the past 3 days. So hopefully I can go tomorrow on Friday. So we'll see. But yeah, I'm excited. Same thing. Going to open the pool in about a month. Get ready for Memorial Day.
So I'm sorry, when I say open the pool, I never have to close the pool, so I don't have to do all the work you have to do.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
I just basically like clean it a little bit and then maybe heat it up if it's not to the temperature I care.
You should come here. Do you know what it's like to like open a pool, like the whole process?
Yeah. Well, so my grandfather, okay, he's probably now he's like, I don't know, 86 or whatever. I mean, he's had a pool at his house for pretty much my whole life. Yeah, this dude had no reason to have a pool. Like no one was over there, and like every year he opened these like, wow, he's just very slow and like, we're gonna open this pool up, and that's like he starts talking about that like in April, right? And then probably like into July he opens it up for like the remainder month or two for summer in Kansas City, and then it like has to close again. I'm just like, what a pain in the ass, dude. To be honest, it actually made me never want to get a pool. Yeah. But it's different here in El Paso, obviously.
Yeah, of course, because it's like you said, it's mostly open, but it's like a process. It's an absolute process.
Yeah, it sounds horrible.
You're
like a mad scientist out there with like your chemicals and shit like that. I've seen your pool though; it's nice. It's very nice.
Yeah, well, I try to keep it, but yeah, let me tell you, when you have to like open up a pool and then when you close it down at the end of the summer, yeah, you're like, it's like Breaking Bad. And like meth and chemicals are just being mixed in, and like it's like do this for like an hour and let it swirl in, and then do this and then take out water, and it's just like, all right, like I guess I'm making something. And you hope and pray that like once, like now the cover's over it, you hope that all season it's still as clean as you left it, right? Because you don't know, like it's still completely sealed. I can't really go underneath and open it. I don't really ever look underneath the tarp, but like when I pull the tarp off, I'm praying that the water is still clear and it didn't turn completely green.
Yeah,
because that's like
you gotta start all over at that point, right?
Yeah, and then that's tons more chemicals.
To be honest, I'm kind of lazy, and so I just like that sounds like too much work, and I don't even know how much I use my pool. To be honest, like someone told me this was going to happen, but I definitely do not use it as much as I thought I was going to. I was like, I'll be in it like every day. Like sometimes during the summer, I am like I'll go in there for I don't know 15-20 minutes, and I'll read in there and just kind of float around. And then I get out. So,
well, that's why I guess you got to hire a pool boy to.
Oh, I have one of those. I'm a pool guy who comes out once a week to clean my pool.
Oh my God, you are pathetic,
dude! It's amazing. And during the winter,
I guess if you both don't have the time, but still, like that's.
Well, they do the chemicals, and I actually just got my filter replaced as well. Okay. So I got a new filter. Anyway, Pool Talk 101, the Comic-Con podcast. It's our side hustle, which you guys are now aware.
We'll let you know in 2 months how the pools are going.
Yeah. But no, let's get into it. We got a bit of a packed schedule, but we're going to start off with a community question from one of our friends, Mike the Beast. He hit us up saying, hey, fellas, so I was wondering, do you think movies such as Deadpool 3 and Secret Wars could possibly get overshadowed by bringing in other versions of characters via other timelines or other universes? Now, Marvel so far has done a great job with projects like Endgame, Loki, and No Way Home. However, are you worried those two films I mentioned those two films I mentioned, more so Secret Wars, might get bogged down with it instead of focusing on the main timeline / universe characters? Man, that's a great question. And it's honestly something I feel like we kind of touch on multiple aspects, which, we talk about the MCU in general, right? We've talked about it a lot, how everything's interconnected. And then like it seems like almost every movie now is some Avengers level movie or mini Avengers movie with you bringing in all these characters. And it always kind of affects the storyline, right? Like, because you have to bring a character in and you have to give them enough like story to make their character move forward, or else why have them there, right? And then every Marvel movie is also introducing a new villain, a new character. So are you giving them enough storyline as well? So even on these non-crossover, multiversal, alternate dimension movies, that's an issue, like, to be honest, it probably wouldn't be a bad idea to just have the movie like with the same characters, never introducing new characters necessarily, and just build their stories. But yeah, like you get into the multiverse and all that kind of shit. I mean, I don't know, dude. I think it's gonna be really tough. I think it's gonna affect the storyline. He mentioned Deadpool 3, but to me, Deadpool 3 already is kind of an alternate movie, right? Because we know. So it's weird because Deadpool is supposed to be in the MCU, supposedly. But we know Hugh Jackman's coming back. So if Hugh Jackman's in the MCU, is it an alternate version? Is it the Hugh Jackman we're aware of? And then what does that mean for X-Men moving forward when they get introduced to the MCU? Is now Hugh Jackman like the oldest fucking mutant? Like, I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that's the problem with, especially like Secret Wars and the whole multiverse, right? Because you had Doctor Strange, the second movie, Multiverse of Madness, right? And even though like the Illuminati were only in it for maybe 10 minutes, right?
Right.
They definitely stood out, right? It's definitely
like
the
best
main
part, right?
Yeah, of course. So that's what it is. Like when you look back at that movie, you don't really think of the different versions of Doctor Strange or America Chavez or,
Right.
I mean, Scarlet Witch, yes, but like it always brings you back to that middle movie, that climactic part where you see all the Illuminati, right? Like
Yeah.
that is and that's what Mike's talking about. Is it? Yeah, you're going to bring in different versions of these characters, and it's almost like the viewer wants more, but we're not going to get
Right.
more, right? Like I doubt we'll ever get to see Black Bolt again. I doubt we'll see Captain Carter. Maybe again in like the what if stuff, but are we really going to see any of those characters in those roles in the MCU?
Yeah, I don't know. It's cool, right? It's always like these like Elseworlds type stuff. It's cool to say, oh look, here's like the theory that we're going to see a Tony Stark that's going to be Tom Cruise or whatever. Like yeah, that's really cool and that's great. But I don't really, as a viewer for me and as a reader too, to be honest, even in the comics, like that trope is getting old. Like I'm kind of over the whole multiverse, alternate dimension character. Like it's lazy to me in a way because it's like, hey, look, I don't have to develop this character anymore because I don't know how. They don't know how to make a good story arc to develop an existing character. So how about I introduce an alternate version of this guy? And it's like already cookie cutter and ready to go.
That's like the whole Spider-Verse.
Yeah, exactly.
We constantly harp back on that because every time they do an Edge of Spider-Verse or some type of Spider series, that's what all they're doing. They're just taking Peter Parker and throwing names and styles and genders and backgrounds at a dartboard, right? And it's like whatever sticks. That's how they create this newest character.
Yeah, I'll be honest. The Secret Wars announcement has never been something I was excited about. I didn't like the Secret Wars storyline that this is based off, the like 2015 one. I thought it was among one of the worst events Marvel has done. I would be willing to put probably $100 that we are going to get. This will be the introduction of Miles Morales. This is just like it was in the Secret Wars 2015 series. This is how Miles comes over to the MCU. And I think this is going to be the way it pushes it down our throat. And I'm not a Miles Morales fan. Keep him in the animated. He's great there. But like Justin said, do we need 90 Spider-Men running around? I don't know, dude. I don't know. I think it is. I think it's going to be. And look, so to kind of go back to the core of Mike's question, do I think the MCU is going to suffer and the main storylines are going to suffer? Hell yeah, I do. Because they're already suffering. Like, look at the MCU movies right now. They are not strong on story. So now you're going to get to this point where you're putting in all these, like, you know, characters just to show characters. I mean, where's Shang-Chi been? That was a strong character, man. I know that they did that movie doesn't get a lot as, like, I feel like it doesn't get as well deserved as it should have. But like, we've gone a long time with no Shang-Chi at all, right? Like, that's a strong character you can build on. And I'm also an Eternals fan. I actually am one of the people who thought Eternals was not that bad, man. And like rewatching it, I like it a little bit more each time. So I don't know, dude. It's tough.
I agree with you too. I think the idea of the weak story writing and not keeping these characters coherent, right? Like, because realistically, I think, and obviously you can correct me if I'm wrong, and I'm sure that people listening out there would say, "Oh, just you're missing this person," but like in reality, you know, Black Widow came out, right? That was kind of like the first new movie of those phases,
Post
right?
Endgame, right?
Yeah, post Endgame, it introduced Yelena Belova, right? And she stayed relevant because she was in Hawkeye, right?
Right.
So at least you were like, oh, I remember her because I just saw her in this movie, right? But no other character in a movie or TV series post has really been like consecutive, right? Like that's the one thing that you always saw.
Yeah.
People would always kind of just show up at
The
least
growth of the character, right?
Yeah, exactly. Or just to be able to say like,
The
oh yeah, I
timeline.
remember
Boom,
seeing
boom,
her.
boom.
Yeah, him or her or them in you know, this past movie.
Now you got me thinking, but you know it's tougher too because now you have to think about the Disney Plus movies because obviously, or the Disney Plus shows because that's obviously where we saw her again.
But that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I'm trying to think who Kang. I mean, I guess is another person we're seeing consecutively a little bit here and there, which God only knows how that's going to play out with all that trouble. But man, who else, dude? We haven't seen anyone from Shang-Chi. We haven't seen any Eternals.
There's nothing like nothing
movie-wise. No new characters. Like America Chavez hasn't shown up anywhere else.
I mean, we're going to get obviously like Monica Rambeau, Kamala Khan in the Marvels later this year.
And we're getting Red Guardian will show up again. And a lot of those characters from
But that's what I'm saying. Like it's that's like down the line. Like Thunderbolts is down the line. But I'm talking about so far in the past 2 to 3 years, you know, where have we seen them to actually see some type of substance? And, you know, I know there was like this rumor going around that you would see Kate Bishop in one of these more recent shows as just like a cameo, and that would have been fine because again, that still drives her to that she's in the MCU, right?
Yeah.
But I don't know. I mean, what's the next thing? Obviously, is Guardians, and that's nothing compared to whatever else is going on in the world, right? Because this is cosmic, and James Gunn is not going to not introduce, but cameo somebody who doesn't warrant his trilogy.
Yeah, and especially not, like you said, like at the end of his game, he's like, but you know, that kind of like what you're talking about though, kind of lends to what Mike was asking though. Like, does that sometimes detract? And I think you're right. Like I think Yelena is a good example and maybe the only example so far of a character in this recent era, post Endgame, who's been shown and kind of like is moving down the line, and it doesn't detract from the storyline. Like it made sense why she was there. But you could have situations where if you try to do that, like what we may see with Deadpool, and what we might see with Secret Wars, it could detract from the storyline. So I don't know, man. I'm honestly a little worried about Marvel. And I sometimes, what is it? I think I just saw today is like 5 years ago, Infinity War came out. As we're recording
this
today.
past week. Yeah.
So it was kind of like, it's sad. That hit me and I was like, dude, was that the peak? That was the peak, bro. Infinity War and Endgame were like the peak of the Marvel era, maybe. So, the MCU. But anyway, great question, Mike. Thanks. And anyone else, whoever wants to send me questions, we got multiple places you can send them into. You can email us at the CinemaCon podcast at gmail.com. You can hit us up on either one of our Instagrams or the CinemaCon podcast Instagram. And Justin's also trying to figure out how to work in a hotline. So maybe someone could live call us when we record. So that might be something fun we have going on here in the future. But anyway, let's move into trailers. And Justin, we talked offline about the trailers we were gonna talk about. And you know what one we didn't mention is we didn't talk at all about Kraven.
They have really a trailer, or did they show it behind the
just kind of that talked about, right? Maybe we'll wait on that. We'll wait until we get an official trailer, right?
Yeah, I kind of really want to see one because obviously there's a lot of stuff that's going on at CinemaCon that literally is still kind of
out there. I mean, literally right before we started recording, they just dropped the trailer for the new Hunger Games, which is like a far prequel, and that looks really awesome. Like I'm super excited for like the first ever Hunger Games.
You know what's really weird is I recently just rewatched every single one of the Hunger Games like within the past month. I think I turned on Netflix and it was like it was going to expire, right? Like the last one, and I was like, you know what? I haven't seen this in a while. Let's watch it. Anyway, okay. So first trailer up is which one? We were going to do
old Transformers.
No, I thought we were going to save that one. That was going to be the
second. Oh yeah, we'll do Flash. You're right. I'm sorry.
Flash, yeah, Flash. So the Flash. This is the final trailer, right? The final trailer came out for the Flash, and I don't know. Oh, you start, dude, because I don't really. It looks good, but I don't. It's like when you get these multiple trailers, like what else am I don't want to see this many trailers. So that's kind of my thing. So you start.
This one definitely I feel is so the first one was definitely more action. It really set up the whole Flashpoint thing, right? We knew you got Zod coming back, you had Kara as Superman in this world, the whole Man of Steel, Batman versus Superman and Justice League, everything is completely changed. This trailer is a lot more emotional, right? You have a lot more Michael Keaton talking about his parents, talking about things that he's done in his past. But you even see more of like Barry and his past and like what has happened, how his parents died. And obviously it's kind of more, I feel like this is good because we're not really going to get like a, like most of these movies that come out, it's like you got a whole buildup until the end and they become the superhero, right?
Right.
With this, the first time we met Flash was like that snippet in Batman versus Superman. And then immediately in Justice League, he's already a hero, right? So there's no like long origin. And in this, for most people, they kind of know the Flash's origin. But I mean, this is easily just taking it from like the very beginning when his parents get killed. And then that's it. Like you're not going to see this whole like buildup of, hey, I've been in, went to high school, went to college. And then all of a sudden this chemical and then storm hit me, blah, blah, blah. Right. Like he's already a hero. So this is like the perfect movie because it's already set. But the trailer now, of course, is giving you so much of an emotional ride between Michael Keaton's Batman, which is amazing, bringing him back. And then also Ezra Miller bringing back him, continuing from, we didn't think this day was ever going to happen, but it's happening, folks. It is happening. I know, we've been talking about this for quite a while. June
I didn't think it was going to happen, but
yeah.
I think you're right.
I love it. I think it's going to be amazing. Early, a lot of people saw it at CinemaCon. A lot of early reviews are saying this is one of the best superhero movies in the past 20 years. The hype is for real. Like it's no joke. And after the first trailer, I thought the hype was there just for the simple fact is Flashpoint is one of the best storylines in DC Comics. So
yeah,
I'm excited. June 16th, cannot wait.
I think, after you said it, like this was a very emotional, more like trauma type trailer with this. And it's interesting to see because as you were talking, I was thinking about this in my head too, but it's interesting because now you have all three of your main heroes, Flash, Batman, and Supergirl, Superman in the movie are all suffering from loss of parents, which seems to be, and I was running it through my head, was like, that's the MO for DC, dude. And like, if you like DC, all the big characters, all of our parents died. Oh God, what are we going to do? But then you go to like Marvel, I'm trying to think of like besides Spider-Man and Uncle Ben and like his parents, I guess, but like Marvel characters don't really ride that MO as much as DC does, but like Superman, Supergirl, Flash, Batman, obviously, like lost all their parents. They're all gone. They're all trauma. So I think it's going to be interesting. I hope it's good. I hope it's good. I really do. I think if I'm being like a naysayer though, a little bit is this is going to piss people off probably. I'm not a big Michael Keaton Batman fan. Like, I don't think he's the best Batman. I've tried to rewatch the original Batman. It's campy. I can't stand it. It's not my thing. It was good when I was a kid. I liked it then. It's just not my Batman anymore. The callbacks, you want to get nuts? Let's get nuts. Like that's kind of fun. It's cool. But I wonder, man, it's funny. Mike's question kind of hits the same point. Like, does situations like this, like bringing in Michael Keaton, does it detract from the storyline of the Flash? I feel like what it says is Ezra Miller's Flash isn't strong enough to pull off a movie. So we have to bring in a legacy character like a Michael Keaton Batman to do it. And because you're doing that, you're obviously sacrificing some storyline with Ezra Miller's character and character development. Yeah, you could argue he's playing off the character and he'll develop it through that. But I don't know. I hope this is a one and last done with Michael Keaton. Like, let's not continue.
Oh yeah, I don't think it's going to be.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
No, so, I can only see a Batman unless they do like a Batman Beyond.
Right.
Somehow, but that's never going to happen. You know, James Gunn is definitely not going to do that. That was something that was always in talks,
right?
You know, for Michael to come back. But it's also to note that Ezra Miller is playing two different versions of himself, right?
Right.
He's playing a Barry Allen that is a character,
doesn't, right, or something. Or do they both have powers? It seemed like.
So from the trailer, and if you kind of pick it apart, you know, obviously the Barry Allen normal Flash from the Snyderverse has the powers and is a hero. The other one never got the powers. So if you've read Flashpoint, he pretty much has to like create the situation of how he got the powers. So I think that's what he does, is to basically get help. Him and Batman create the way that he created the situation to get you know, all the chemicals and the storm. Basically, if you ever watched the Flashpoint or read the Flashpoint, that's exactly how it is. You see another Barry Allen getting the powers, and I think that's where the blue, because there's blue and red spectrums. You see that in the trailer too. Like the newer version of Flash, he's kind of blue.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what's going on, and you know, again, I hope it does well. I think it should do super well, but again, it's like every other DC movie that's been coming out. It doesn't. Nobody cares. But I think people that are our age, and maybe a little older, for people that saw the 1989 Batman movie, the people that liked Man of Steel or loved Man of Steel, to go see General Zod again, like.
Yeah, I think this one has more chance of success than the other ones, like you said, because when you announce that, oh, James Gunn's doing his whole new thing, so like obviously you were just like, okay, Shazam, that's done, you know, because we haven't heard anything about that, like being taken in James Gunn. Even Aquaman's movie is like almost like a dead fish in water. I feel like coming out, like no one knows what's happening with that. But this one has it has the potential because of, like you said, Flashpoint and all that, being like, well, maybe this is what starts off James Gunn's universe. You know, everyone's kind of leaning that way. Like this is the reset button. So I don't know. It looks good. It looks cinematically, it looks pretty awesome. And I'm excited to see. I'm a Snyderverse fan. I'm not a crazy cultist like some of the people on the internet with that, but I'm excited to see Zod again. I'm excited to, you know, see all that, and it'll be fun, man. But we'll see. Ezra Miller sucks, dude. So guy's the worst.
It's happening. It's actually. I wish we could go back to the episodes and just like pull clips of every time you thought that this was never coming out.
Yeah, I know, dude. I couldn't believe it, man. Like honestly, at this point, if what's his name? Oh man, the guy who plays Kang. Like this has got to be like, he's got to be like, nope, precedent's been set.
No, I feel like that's what we should do. Is I'm gonna go through. I should go through the episodes of every time we've said this is never coming out, and then when we do actually our like review for like bonus content, that's how I start the show.
Miller watch
everything like this isn't coming, and then we go right into it.
I will say this though, and I feel like I've read a couple articles that have said the strength of this movie is the reason why they put up with him. That I guess that this movie, like they had so much faith in this movie and that it was so good that they were like, oh God, okay, we just got to make this happen. And they probably had so much money invested. So
of course, with Keaton, like they were like, yeah, Keaton's just gonna pull this movie through for
yeah. So cool. Yeah. Flash coming out June 17th, right around the corner. Our second comic book movie that's coming up, right? Guardians first,
a week
and then
before.
that. Yeah. So cool. Moving on to another trailer. I know one that Justin's mildly excited about. We've got a new Transformers Rise of the Beasts trailer. Justin, break it down for us.
Wow. So when this trailer dropped, I guess you really have to be like a 90s person. Like that's the thing. If you're a 90s fan of also the Transformers, you knew about the Beast Wars. So this is just amazing to see them in live action. I'm like, cannot believe that it's finally happening, right? Like I've been waiting for this for many, many years. But in the trailer, the moment that the name Unicron dropped,
that was big. And I
was like, all right, well, they got it. That's clearly that exactly like you just said. They got to go big, right? There's no way that you can drop a name like that and not expect it to be some wild and crazy thing. So, yeah, I mean, we get to see confirmed you get Cheetor, Air Razor, Rhinox, and Optimus Primal's in there. And then you get all the Autobots that don't look like they're from the Michael Bay universe, right? They're actually look like they could actually transform and they could be toys, right? There's
Yeah,
not
they
like
do. You're right. They look more, and I don't mean this poorly. They look more cartoony, like more
yeah.
not real. Yeah.
Yeah, like they're more realistic because all their actual cars, they're not like futuristic sports cars that people can't afford.
Yeah.
Like that was the thing with a lot of the Michael Bay Transformers cars. They were all things that you and I couldn't afford. I mean, yeah, there's like the Porsche 911, but like there's other ones that are just junky little whatever, like
Mhm.
jalopy cars. But yeah, I'm super excited for this. You get you get the Maximals, obviously the Autobots, and then you have the Predacons and Scourge, who's the leader of the Predacons. Not much is shown as far as the bad guys, but I wouldn't believe that there's absolutely nothing going on with the Decepticons, which is pretty crazy. I'm sure
Are they
maybe like a
are they
post-credit scene.
Predacons or Terracons? What's the
So
difference?
it's tough. I don't know if they're doing like if they're doing the Terracons or the Predacons, because like the Predacons were in G1. In G1, the Predacons were a combiner, like Devastator.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
But in the Beast Wars, they were called the Predacons. It was the Maximals versus the Predacons, and they
Okay.
were descendants of the Autobots and the Decepticons, like thousands of years in the future.
Okay.
The Terracons were also a combiner in G1, and now the Terracons, if they do it, is kind of, I don't know if they're kind of keeping in line with that, like if they're just going to maybe have a combiner or
Mhm.
that's just their name.
Okay.
So,
Gotcha.
what do you think in the trailer?
Oh, I thought it was awesome. I mean, it's cool. And when I saw Unicron, so like, I I probably know more than the average person about Transformers, but I'm not like up to your level. Like I've read the majority of the IDW run,
Mhm.
quite a bit, and it can be hard to read.
Oh, yeah, there's definitely times.
It's rough. Like the stories don't match, and it jumps around a lot. But and I watched a lot of the cartoons. Of course, growing up, I was a '90s guy as well. So it looks awesome. The Unicron stuff, I don't know anything about Unicron. And basically, I'm like, what is that? Ego the Living Planet that like eats planets, like
Kind of, yeah.
yeah. So I guess my biggest question is what's the timeline here, right? So like Bumblebee, and we were talking about this offline. Bumblebee's a prequel to the original movies, the Michael Bay stuff. And this is a sequel to Bumblebee, correct? So
I
still
think this is a whole new universe. I think this is just a flat out reboot.
because I'm reading like on Wikipedia, it says it's a standalone sequel to Bumblebee. And
But
it's
there's no like
in
direct.
94, right?
Yeah, so it happens in the 90s.
Yeah.
Obviously, that's even in the trailer, it says it's like 1994. So I think
Yeah.
that's the idea because obviously Bumblebee was in the 80s. So it skips about 10 years.
Right.
But yeah, I don't think it's anywhere near the Bayverse.
And so so that's my question is like, if is it standalone? Maybe we'll find out. Like, let's say it's not, and let's say it's part of this whole universe. Like, how
Well,
do
it
we
can't
get
be because
to
even in
Gaia?
Transformers 1, like the Michael Bay version, all of the Autobots come to Earth.
Right. Like
You know,
later. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. That's always been my kind of questions with these movies. Are we just kind of like, and that's fine. Like, to be honest, I'd still enjoy the movie if you just, hey man, don't worry about the rest of this shit. We're just kind of going crazy and going nuts with it. But
Hey, hard reset. I'm cool.
yeah.
Fine.
Yeah. So honestly, the most boring part's when they introduce the humans. It's like,
Oh yeah, that's
like, what do we need these humans for? And then reading the synopsis, like it's so stupid. Premise: in the year 1994, a pair of archaeologists from Brooklyn come into an ancient conflict through a globetrotting adventure with Autobots that ties in with three factions of Transformers race: the Maximals, the Predacons, and the Terracons. Like, oh yeah, you just got two archaeologists roaming around. Like, it's so stupid, dude. Like, get rid of the humans, man.
well, that's what's gonna be funny. So they're from Brooklyn, and then obviously you've seen it in both trailers that, and even the Maximals say in the beginning that they've been hiding for centuries.
Right.
So it's like there are these four giant robots just hiding in the woods somewhere, right? Now, are they hiding in America? Are they hiding in like South America? Where are they? Like, hmm,
Yeah, I don't know, dude. But it looks awesome. you know, here's my pitch to anyone who's listening. I think we've said this before. Next movie, make it on Cybertron. Get rid of these humans, man. These humans are bogging this shit down. Like, we don't need them, dude. Like, I don't need Earth. I don't honestly, I don't even need the cars, man. Like, I don't need the cars. I'm transform. Okay, so as a Transformers guy, what did they transform into on Cybertron?
They still do have they have
Their own
space
vehicle?
age.
Okay.
Like they have space age cars and planes and stuff like that. Because
Okay.
literally the only time it's interesting because and people have been posting it all this week, like best Transformers scene ever is like that one in the beginning of Bumblebee when they're all on Cybertron and they're fighting.
Yeah.
That's obviously the best. But even in the original G1 cartoon, there's only I think you only see 5 or 6 Transformers. I think the Seekers, Starscream and his crew, you see them as alien ships, like how they transform.
Yeah. They're yeah, I know
Triangle looking ships.
Right,
They're not like
exactly.
the F-15s that they are on Earth. And there's a couple other I think Bumblebee and Jazz or somebody that you see them. But if you've ever played the either Fall for Cybertron or War for Cybertron on the PlayStation 3 or Xbox 360, that's cool because they do have the versions of space age vehicles of what they would look like. They're not they're not resembling Earth vehicles. They're more like space age vehicles.
Gotcha.
So that's what it is there. And obviously in the first Michael Bay movie, Megatron's how he transforms into a giant flying rope, like a flying ship.
Yeah, he's more like Cybertron.
Yeah, he felt that, and I remember they always Michael Bay even said this, that he refused to take on the form of anything from Earth. He felt like that was
scorn for it. Yeah.
Yeah, devolving himself.
Right. Which makes sense. Totally.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, man. I feel like, and it's tough, man, obviously with these movies, never going into the lore, the, oh shit, I forgot the name, but we were talking about what Starscream's crew was called. What
The
are they?
Seekers.
The Seekers. Yeah, they never really talk about that, and in the comics that was a big deal. All the different Seekers and stuff, which I always thought was really cool.
Well, yeah, there's so much lore, and I guess we can kind of roll this into our first article. Transform that just got announced today it's funny. This got announced about 3 years ago, but now it's finally coming out next year. Transformers is coming over from comicbook.com. Transformers 1, called Transformers 1. It's an animated prequel that is going to be coming out next year. And today they announced a bunch of people that are going to be starring in the role. So the first time in a very long time where we have not seen Peter Cullen, the voice of Optimus Prime, for many, many years. We have Chris Hemsworth as a young Optimus Prime. We got Brian Tyree Henry as Megatron, Scarlett Johansson as Alita, Keegan Michael Key as Bumblebee, John Hamm as Sentinel Prime, and Lawrence Fishburne as Alpha Trion. So interesting stuff coming over. Like I said, they've been in development for a few years now because, like I said, this got announced in 2020, and finally moving forward, obviously post with this Rise of the Beast stuff. So this whole prequel is basically going to be how Megatron and Optimus Prime were in the younger days, and how basically they were both leaders, and the rise of both the Autobots and Decepticons. My thing is, and they really, really should make this more of not one movie, because the problem is there's a lot of history, and like you said, there's a lot of lore that's unexplained. One of the best IDWs, and I don't know if you've ever read this, it's called Megatron Origin. It's a 4-issue series.
Yeah.
Which is phenomenal.
Awesome.
His origin of, and this is for obviously, so since you've read it, people out there, if you've never read it, you can try to find it. It's definitely hard to come by, maybe trade, but it's so Megatron is obviously not Megatron. He's I don't know, what do you call him? A miner, basically, down in the dumps of Cybertron, or it's Chaos, one of the cities.
Yeah, he's just a blue collar worker who's being used and abused. Yeah.
Basically, yeah. And then they have these fights. They have these illegal arena fights, and he fights people, and he obviously continues to win, and that's how he gets supporters and followers. And they kind of send down the Cybertronian Senate down there to kind of try to talk to him, and things ensue. And he basically rises up and meets people. He meets the Seekers, he meets Soundwave, and Soundwave is someone who helps him you know, they help them build weapons and stuff like that. So it's like such a great origin story, and I don't think they're going to go that route because I feel like it's very dark.
It is. I mean, he's a rabble rouser and like a rebel, right? And like, you know, he's had a horrible life, but it's not your typical rise up from the bottom and defeat things. He's like rise up and like let's burn these dudes to the ground. You know, it's like it's way harsher. But I mean, that's probably what real life is like, dude. Like when you're kept down and down and down, like you know, what are you gonna do? So that is a really good one. And isn't in that like Optimus is kind of like you know, he's a fledgling like kind of cop, right? Or like at the beginning before he becomes a prime. And that's how they interact, right? He's like I remember being like some kind of like their version of like cops.
Well, he's not even called before he's Orion Pax.
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
That's his name before he becomes Optimus Prime.
Before he gets
because there's like so many different primes in the story, in the, you know, the journey of Transformers.
Yeah, dude, it's cool. I mean, I'd like to see a lot more for sure.
Like, did you ever see the Netflix series that came out, the last Netflix like trilogy of Transformers that came out?
The Cybertron stuff. Wasn't it called like Cybertron or something? I know what you're talking about. No, I did not.
It's like the war. It's called like the War for Cybertron trilogy. There's like Siege, Kingdom.
Yes.
Like Kingdom introduced like the Maximals, and it was just like, I mean, it was amazing. But it's basically that, like, it's them on Cybertron fighting at the end of the war and then having to leave, and then they somehow end up on Earth, and that's where they meet the Maximals and the Predacons. And I mean, if you've been a Transformer for so long, like, you know a lot of the characters and you get like the history, right?
And you liked it? It was good?
Oh yeah, it's definitely really good. You could just sit through and probably watch each season in a sitting.
There's what, 18 episodes each or total?
Yeah, because it's like 6
I meant to watch it.
It's good. It definitely, I'd say definitely give it a watch. I think the final season is great because they definitely incorporate a lot of things that in IDW that they did, which is awesome. And again, IDW is so large, and that's like the one thing that you have. As much as like they typically only would come out with like Transformers, and then like it would either be like Transformers Robots in Disguise or More Than Meets the Eyes were like the two main titles. And every now and then you get that event book or like a 5-issue mini. There's so much that's crammed into these issues, and with all the different characters, it was just like so hard to like know like where they came from.
It was rough. It was
like,
rough.
I don't know if you've ever read like when they did like the spotlights, when it would be like 1 or 2 issue origins of them. Like
those were some of the best issues.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's so much to read and so much history and lore.
And then you wouldn't see that character again though. Like for the longest time. It was IDW they weren't cohesive, man. But speaking of which, because we've been going quite a while, let's roll into this. We might just be able to do one article, but let's roll into IDW. Let's keep this conversation kind of going.
Yeah, there we go. It wasn't even planning on that. I didn't even do that.
I know.
Foreshadow that at all.
But it's right though. But I mean, so we'll just kind of segue into this. But like that is an issue. Is IDW, obviously, we've talked about this before, has big legacy properties, right? And G.I. Joe, Transformers, really just all they have left is Ninja Turtles at this point. And one of the big news coming out is IDW is cutting 2/5 of its employees, executives, and stock exchange listing. So the new CEO states, today we hit reset as IDW drops off the stock exchange and fires 2/5 of staff. So, I mean, there's a lot of business jargon mixed in here in this story, but basically IDW is saying, hey man, let's cut it back. Let's get to a profitable position. They sold a lot of their properties. Like I said, Transformers is gone now.
Transformers is gone.
Joe's is gone.
Star Wars is gone.
Star Wars is gone. Well, they still do a little Star Wars though, right? Like IDW Adventure.
Dark Horse has that.
That's Dark Horse. That's right. And really, they're just rocking TMNT right now. I feel
Sonic
and Sonic, yeah.
As like every now and then, when Michael Bower wants to create like a Kanto miniseries, My Little Pony, I guess.
Yeah. So they're saying that the big things that they're doing, they're going to deregister the company's Class B common stock under the SEC, delist the Class B common stock from the New York Stock Exchange, make changes in senior management, and implement cost-cutting measures. So these actions are intended to preserve capital and put the company in the strongest position possible to unlock value from its assets, including its intellectual property and ability to generate new intellectual property. So IDW states that they will be retaining essential personnel who are most directly related to preserving current operations and launching the company on its new trajectory. So it's interesting. And it makes sense, man. Like, if your business isn't profitable, what are you going to do? You got to retool and figure it out, or sell and just and kill it, right? And but I don't know. Like, I still, obviously, I don't know the ins and outs of this business, but cutting two big properties like GI Joe and Transformers as like legacy properties and intellectual property, and just keeping Turtles, that's a big flex, a big move. That you think Turtles is going to be? Look, I love Turtles, but what's going to happen? So
I think it's very strange. For the simple fact is, like, you have, I think they're banking on, like, I guess they were banking on the continuation of like Last Ronin, right? The upcoming the upcoming Turtles movie coming out this year.
Yeah.
And like, this is probably the longest span that we haven't had a Transformers comic book in quite a long time. And the fact that you have a movie coming out this year and another movie already announced for next year, and absolutely no place to put this franchise, they just couldn't afford to keep the IP. That's basically what it is, like, because they have to renew their contract. So, I mean, like you said, you have nothing but what they're still living with is the TMNT stuff, which is profitable for them. Obviously, Sonic the Hedgehog is, after the 2 movies, right? That's kind of, like, I would say, that's kind of kept them going.
Where are we going with that? I guess. I mean, what, they got a Knuckles movie coming out, right? And probably Sonic 3.
I mean,
They
what
also
else do you
obviously
really have?
Lock and Key's done. They're not going to get more out of Lock and Key anymore.
Yeah. They did start doing that, we've talked about it. They've had a few titles that were more independent, more creator owned. Obviously, like, Livio's book came out of that. You have
Right.
Lock and Key, which is kind of like almost an original Dark Spaces, which was done by Snyder. A couple other ones mished in there as well that are not superhero or cartoon related. And
So
I feel
here's,
like they're
oh, sorry.
backing out somehow. Yeah, no, go ahead.
They currently, and I didn't actually realize this, and I never saw this movie, and I couldn't tell you what the success was on this, but they currently publish Dungeons and Dragons series. So I don't know if, that's keeping them afloat, if they've got big plans for that. How did that movie even do? Like,
I was surprised that made a lot of money.
it did?
It
Okay.
did, and I was
I haven't
actually
seen
shocked
it.
that it was. Yeah, I haven't seen it either,
I
and
want
I've been
to. I
hearing
just
good
haven't.
things about
Yeah.
it, and it did make. I guess it's from, like, D&D fans, like,
Yeah.
forever, right? Finally came out with a movie. I guess that's like anything that has never been made into a movie in a very long time. Because I feel
Right.
like Dungeons and Dragons was probably Marvel a long time ago, if I'm not mistaken. But
No. No, I don't think Marvel ever had Dungeons and Dragons. But I mean, it's a strong property. It's a very strong property.
100%.
If you play it right. Magic the Gathering, I guess. So, I mean, like I said, maybe look, if you're looking at ID's probably, if someone put a list of all of the properties IDW owned, right, before getting rid of Transformers and GI Joe, you'd be like, okay, here's the 3 biggest ones. It's Turtles, Joe, Transformers. These are the 3 biggest. Like, that would have been me. I'd have been like, boom, these 3 are the biggest. These are the ones that have been around the longest. These have the most nostalgia. They've had the most movies that have come out, animated series, video games attached to them. So just to be like, well, let's cut these 2. It's like, it was a big move, man. But maybe it'll pay off, dude. And I hope it does. Do we know where they've landed? Has anyone bought the rights to those? I mean, obviously someone bought them because they don't own them anymore, right? And that they wanted that capital.
I think with Transformers, it's kind of up in the air. I don't think anybody's purchased it. I thought it was going to go to Dark Horse like Star Wars did, but I'm not sure where it's landing. I mean, I obviously think, and kind of like how you said, like, when you looked at all the past things of where all the IDW books were, when you walked into a comic shop, where were they? They were all in the kids section.
Right.
And then they started trying to grow out of that by no longer coming out with Transformers, and I guess barely coming out with GI Joe. But now it's just like, yeah, they're pretty much all in the kids sections, unless they're doing some type of mature themed comic, right? Even Kanto's a kid's book. So
yeah, I'm actually looking at like articles about it, and it looks like the most recent article I can find was from like August of 2022, and it still says Transformers still have no home.
Yeah, I mean, I was hoping and praying that it would go to
maybe?
Dark Horse. I mean, I would love to see it, but I mean, there's really nothing as far as what's really going to happen. I know that it's there. The only thing that they've ever done with Dark Horse was I remember they did that Transformers versus Terminator crossover. That was the only thing that was between IDW and Dark Horse. So hey, why don't not just put it over there? Or hell, I mean, Marvel's got the Predator stuff, the Alien stuff. I mean, it's got to go somewhere, right?
Yeah.
Maybe DC, like, because they don't have anything like that. There's no big franchise cartoons over at DC.
Yeah, dude. I don't know. We'll see what happens. I mean, and no one's talking about GI Joe at the moment either. So
that's kind of like dead in the water because there's nothing, no TV shows, no movies. So
yeah,
it's a bad time. I mean, Transformers right now could be killing it in comics, knowing with the trailers that have been dropping and the other news. Like, you got to get new people. Like, again, I feel like this movie's going to come out this year and this other movie's going to come out next year. And if you don't have a comic, like, you're not getting new people. Like, it's just going to be people like myself and other, older fans. Like,
right. And it's not like it's not new. It's always it's been going. This is this 8th installment, 7th installment of the movie. So you're really just getting the same people who came to the first 7 ones, and you're not getting all those people. Some people are not going to come back. So yeah, man. I don't know. We'll see what happens. But anyway, that's kind of what we got in our comic news as well. I know we talked a lot about Transformers, but it just kind of seemed on par. A lot of news for Transformers today, and we don't get a lot of that as usual. So we'll go ahead and round this bad boy out like we always do on what you're currently reading. Justin, you still catching up? Are you all caught up?
No, yeah, man, I'm all caught up with everything.
What do you got
ready to go. This week was actually a little bit of everything. Currently reading this week at Grimm number 10. I thought the current storyline for Grimm has been, pushing it around. I mean, if you're not reading Grimm by now, I'm going to spoil a little bit. So obviously you have, of course, the main character, Grimm herself, her father, the Grim Reaper of Death. You have the end. They're gone. The balance of the Earth is completely out there. Nobody knows what's going on. People can't die. Then you find out who her mother is. And of course, there's always something going on with someone having sex with some crazy demon or something, right? To basically create somebody, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm enjoying the Grimm current storyline right now. So Grimm 10 just came out. Another World Tree, very awesome.
Yes. Right.
I read,
cool, huh?
I don't know. I'm pretty sure you've seen this. Have you seen like the Freddy vs. Jason movie?
Oh yeah.
That kind of reminded me, how like when you were talking about last week when they were like, oh, we've beaten this thing before when we were younger, right?
Yeah.
It kind of reminds me of like in Freddy vs. Jason, how like all the people don't know who Jason is anymore because they take pills and they forgot, like.
Oh yeah.
So it's kind of like that, like
Mhm.
they defeated him, but now like he can't go into their dreams because they take pills and they completely forget about him. So it kind of reminds me of that a little bit. But yeah, the very interesting of what's going on, and that chick who's on the cover on a lot of these covers and in this story is wild.
Yeah.
From the Marvel side, Venom Lethal Protector Volume 2.
Okay.
I don't know if you're reading the Lethal Protector stuff.
No. It's Eddie Brock, right?
Yeah, it's Eddie Brock. It's set in the 90s stuff, which is awesome. It's, the time when, you had people like obviously Dave Michelini's the one, writing it. I mean, it's a time where you had Venom, right? It was Eddie Brock. It was awesome. You have characters, like the Vulture's in there. You have Cardiac who's in there, Silver Sable, like all these characters that were like main characters in the around that 90s time in Amazing Spider-Man to really be in this. So I'm enjoying it. They did a 5-issue volume 1. This is now the volume 2 of the current Lethal Protector run, which I found is very awesome as well. It's got Silver Sable and if you read the synopsis, it's basically going to be Venom versus Doom. Like Doom shows up at the end of issue 2, and I don't know what's going to happen, to be honest, because it's going to be pretty amazing to see a Venom fight Doom.
Strange.
2 other books of the week. I'd probably say not complete hot garbage, but the Vader book.
Oh man, I'm glad you agreed with me, dude.
Like the Peach Momoka story was stupid.
Yeah,
I mean, whatever. I get her art. Yeah, I get her art. That's one thing, but I don't really understand the rest of that. Past that, it was like whatever. The first storyline was pretty good. Obviously, with the guy who walks into a bar and he tells them all about who he is, and obviously somehow he captures Darth Vader by the end of the storyline, right?
Yeah.
There's that. And then the other two storylines were just like, I'm not even, I don't know. It really wasn't for me. But pick of the week, and it's not because it's the hottest book this week, but High Republic Adventures, Quest of the Jedi. People are going crazy trying to buy this book, and it's wild. Like, yes, there's some first appearances in there, but
Is
to be
that the
honest,
appeal? What is the appeal of this book?
it's like the first mention of some Darth Ravi and first appearances of Jedi, and I think this book will go right back down to like maybe $10 in a couple of weeks. Like, there's no point this book should be $25-$30. It's absolutely terrible. Like,
yeah, I have mine coming from,
but it's a good storyline. It's got a master and apprentice. They go to this planet that has this thing called the Echo Stone, and I think the Echo Stone is going to be something that's part more of phase 2, or maybe even leading into phase 3. It's, they go to this planet, and all these people have the ability to use the Force, and it's not, they really don't have, they don't have the Force within them. It's basically this thing called the Echo Stone that's giving off this power, and things ensue. And it's always interesting with a lot of these High Republic adventure books, because it's always told from the future and the past, or the past and the present. Like, it starts out, and then it'll be like, there's like a couple panels where it's in the Jedi Temple or the Jedi Archives, and then they go back to what was happening in the High Republic. Similar to how like Hidden Empire was, where like revealed at the end it was Luke and Leia. There were those two people listening to the archivist. It's very similar to that, where even in the Nameless Terror, the same way, where its story starts and it's current times, but then the story goes into being whatever the High Republic era is as far as the details. So interesting stuff at the High Republic Adventures, but definitely pick of the week, and not because it's the hottest book this week. What about you?
Yeah. This week there wasn't a ton of great stuff. I was happy the Hulk ended. It was glad it's done. I'm glad you're in the same mindset as the Vader thing. To be honest, there was a couple. I think that last story, I just was like, just kind of moving through the pages. I wasn't really interested in it at all. I was kind of bummed out by it, because I wasn't entirely sure I was going to pick it up. And then I was like, you know what? I've heard good things about the rest of the Black, Red, and White books, and Darth Vader we even talked about how this was going to be a perfect character.
It should be a no-brainer.
And it wasn't good. Dude, and the Peach Momoko, like, I don't care. Whatever, dude. Like, all you writers of her, like, out there, it doesn't make any sense to me. That was garbage. And I read her that whole Ronin, going off on another tangent, the whole like Ronin universe with the X-Men and Momoka and all that stuff. Like, I thought that was garbage, and I tried to read that too. And I'm an X-Men fan, so like I don't know. I'm not a Peach Momoko fan. So I don't know. Daredevil was really good this week. I think the Daredevil storyline is amazingly strong right now. But I think my pick of the week, and like I said, X-Men fan, surprise, surprise, Sins of Sinister Dominion, like the final issue of the Sins of Sinister little arc, was really good. I haven't been crazy about like all the different, like, it's been okay. It's once again, it's these, I say it all the time. We kind of talked about it earlier today. Like, sometimes these storylines where it's an alternate universe. So like, how invested can I get in this? None of this is really going to matter. And then Marvel has a playbook. Like, I'm talking about this and I'm thinking about it in my mind, because we just talked about Secret Wars. Marvel's playbook is the same playbook it's been for years, right? Here's a big crossover, and at the end of this, some people are going to die, but they're not really dead, and they'll be coming back this side. And guess what? We're going to pull one of these fan favorite characters from this alternate reality that doesn't exist anymore. We're going to now pull them here. And that's really what happened with Sins of Sinister. They pulled Rasputin 4, who was a breakout character during House of X Powers of 10. And now she's in the mainstream Krakoa age as well. There's obviously some shakeup with Sinister and Moira McTaggart, and maybe who is like or another Sinister out there who did attain Dominion, which, if you need me to explain Dominion to you, good luck. I don't barely understand it myself. But it was good. I mean, it was a good arc. I like the Sinister focus. It was fun stuff. There were some really cool new characters, and it was good. But
what's your thoughts on the last Ronin stuff, the Lost Years?
I'm liking it. I enjoy it.
So now here's my question in this issue, and obviously I don't care. This is a spoiler, but like, so he loses his sight. Was he blind in the first series?
No, he gets it back in this. Even in the end of this book, he gets it back.
Oh, really? Because The way I was reading it was like he was blind, and then like because you don't see him have eyes, his pupils you don't see even in the first series. I actually went back and looked at it, and I was just like, I'm thinking it was like, is he like, what's that one movie with
Oh, I know what you're talking about with Denzel.
Yeah.
Book of Eli. Book of
Yes,
Eli.
yes. I'm thinking, I was like, is this the Book of the Turtles? Like, is he blind the entire series? And I'm not. I'm just realizing it
No,
now, or are people
he
just realizing
he
it?
gets it back because he goes through and there's some like radiation that like affects his eyesight, and in the last page they tase him, and I guess the
Okay.
taser brings his eyesight back.
Okay.
I mean, it's good, dude. It's not great. It's obviously not like the last Ronin was great. The flashbacks they don't really seem to have much point, and I don't feel like we're getting much of like the current turtles, like the new generation.
Oh yeah,
It's in
that's
this weird like in between point where you have two storylines, right? And you're not getting
Mhm.
enough from either one. That's
Yeah.
kind of my mindset of it, but it's enjoyable, and I like it. I'm going to continue to read it. But you want to talk about the current turtles, man? Current turtles is so awesome right now. The Armageddon game. We got one last issue to wrap up this like ongoing storyline that's been going on in the turtles, like this big crossover event, and the last book should be coming out. Gosh, I don't even know when.
What they have like 2 issues this week. I think they had like the regular Turtles and then like the one shot, if I'm not mistaken.
No, I think it was Alliance came out this week, which was the
Okay.
last issue of Alliance, and oh no, Turtles 139 came out, which is like the penultimate issue of all of this stuff. So let's see. Armageddon game maybe comes out. I don't know. It's good. I mean, the Armageddon game has been really awesome, but I'm also a big fan of the Turtle stuff as well. And I know I always talk about it as well. The Power Ranger stuff is really strong. So
Yeah.
that's kind of what I got this week, man. It was kind of a light week for me, to be honest. I still haven't read The Forged #2. I haven't read it yet. I still don't have Hunt Kill Repeat #2. So I'm waiting to read that. So there's still a couple things that are going to come out that are going to be a little old for me, probably.
Yeah, I got a couple of things that I did pick up that I didn't read, so I may talk about them next week if I feel like they're read worthy. So
nice.
So
what else you got? What's coming up? You got a show?
Well, don't worry about it. I mean, obviously, yeah, you could always follow me on whatnot. But actually, this weekend is going to be, if you don't know, you can probably look at your local theaters. Their 40th anniversary of Return of the Jedi opens up tomorrow. I think it's going to be going streaming for like a week in theaters. So I'm actually going to go see it this weekend.
Nice.
So get out there and watch Return of the Jedi in the big screen.
Hell yeah.
It's been a really long time. And then, of course, May 20th, the 3 Men in a Basement comic swap in Newington, Connecticut.
What news you got for us on our exclusive?
You saw some line art.
I did see some line art.
Looking good.
Looking pretty good. Looking pretty sexy.
Yeah, hopefully we'll have some stuff next week to drop because I really want to drop it for May the 4th. Of course, I'm doing a very big Whatnot show on May the 4th as well, so make sure you're following me over there. That's all I got, man.
Cool. Yeah, nothing new here in El Paso land. We're taking closer to Baby Manimal showing up, so just prepping for all that. But
yep, you'll be gone for a very long time.
I'll be at the house. I'll still be here. You might have a baby screaming or something.
Wonderful.
But, no, that's not going to take me. That shouldn't take me away from the podcast. Might take me away from reading. I may not be able to read as much. I might be so tired I can't read books. But
or you're up like in the middle of the night reading.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, that's probably what'll be happening. Oh, wait, let's talk about this because tomorrow it comes out, right? Jedi Survivor.
Oh yes,
drops tomorrow.
Yes, it does.
I'm really close to finishing the book.
I was going to ask you. I was trying to tell one of my friends about what's it called, Battle Scars.
Battle Scars, yeah,
yeah, of how it's like in between. It's like because it's like a 5-year gap between Jedi Fallen Order, and Survivor. So this is like an in between.
It's even I'm guessing it's kind of towards the tail end because even during the story they talk about how like Cal and Marin and all them, they've been traveling for years together. So it's years. The book's taking place years after Fallen Order. So something just happened. I got about 2 or 3 chapters left. I'm almost done. Something kind of big just happened, and I'm wondering how it's going to be reflected in the game.
All right.
To be
honest.
All right.
Well, I guess I'll have to play the game. I heard it's like 20 to 30 hours if you're trying to do everything. Like the
world's
are
download
big.
it tomorrow.
It's surprisingly actually coming from GameFly. I was thinking about downloading it, but you know what? GameFly sent it to me, so I'm gonna have to wait a couple days and then I'll buy it when it's like super cheap again.
Yeah, I actually will probably be a little. I don't know if I'm gonna get it right away, but I'm gonna start playing soonish. So
nice, cool,
everyone. Well, thanks for listening. Season 3, episode 17, the Transformers episode. And yeah, we will catch you next week. Hit us up on the chats, hit us up on the IGs, emails, whatever you want.